What's up, everyone? This is a brand new Patreon exclusive, and this is on my 4 methods for spotting trading ops. Before I even begin, thank you all so much for supporting me with this. I did not think I would get so many subscribers so quick. This is super awesome, and I'm so excited for what's to come. So appreciate you all just kind of reciprocating the value. It really does mean a lot to me. So often I get the question, how did you see this ticker? In the top monthly plays, like, okay, like those were good, but how do you find that in the moment in real time and proactively so that you can actually trade the ticker? This is such an important question because I think this actually translates to real P&L and real money for you all. So when I thought about it, I figured that probably 99% of my trading would actually come from the following 5 methods. I'm sure there's probably some exceptions somewhere, but for the most part, I really do think that these 5 methods that I'm going to drill down into really cover the overwhelming majority. And I think this is also an important thing for you all to think in your own trading. How are you set up to kind of spot all the different trading opportunities? And is there anything here that could really help you spot more of them? So let's dive in. The very first thing is the good old-fashioned watch list. Probably every trader does this, and so let me tell you how I would do it for myself. So pre-market each day, I'd start my watch list, and this would start to include anything that might have had overnight or pre-market news. This could be from stuff like the Morning Brew daily email. This could be stuff like Trade the News morning summary, the Bloomberg morning summaries, even the earnings calendars. There's a lot of different methods for figuring out what news happened overnight in the morning. These are all the ones I used. I think it really covered everything. The Trade the News one in particular tended to be pretty great. So between Trade the News and Bloomberg, that was pretty much like 90% done for me. I also had trainees helping me in case I missed anything, but I would write down all those tickers, especially the ones that were more interesting, more liquid, and had the highest probability that I'd actually trade them. Regardless of whether I'd trade them or not, I'd always put the IPOs on my watch list if there were any that day. I would also set alerts for when those are supposed to come in. If they're a NASDAQ IPO in my iPhone, I would also set limit or market alerts for 100 shares on all the IPOs so that the second they would open, I would get the opening print and I'd immediately know that they came in. That was kind of just textbook for me. Another thing that would go on this watch list is any expected event catalysts for that day. This could be Fed events, this could be court cases, this could be drug data, and so on. The other thing I would include on this watch list is stocks that made crazy moves the prior day, which I might have seen or traded. So if something was super in play, maybe due to breaking news, maybe it was because it sold off really hard. Stocks like APLS after their first day, that's going to be on my watch list. Stocks that might have really broken out on high volume, that's going to be on my watch list. So those are all really important. And then, of course, some of these I would just simply carry over from my prior day watch lists. So when people ask about stocks like MULN, like NKLA, like SIRI, those will stay on my watch list and carry over each day for long as they remain interesting on the chart. Super important not to take your eyes off that. So yeah, watch list is probably the most obvious method. Nevertheless, still wanted to break it down for you all. Next, so much of the opportunities I traded came from breaking news. At most professional prop firms like Trillium, SMB, or wherever, breaking news does tend to be a meaningful portion of the trading that gets done. I found that this tends to be way different from the retail side. I think a lot of retail has been quite surprised even to see that there are humans out there operating on those initial legs, but that, at least on the prop world, tends to be super common. This is common for automated trading firms. This is common for quantitative trading firms. This is also common for human discretionary trading firms. So for those that are new to this world, the major news sources tend to be Bloomberg, Reuters, Wall Street Journal, and then the traditional press releases that get aggregated by trading software, news companies like NewsEdge or Newswatch. Those are the 2 most common vendors I've seen for stuff like that. And between those sources there, that probably covers 95% of news. The other 5% tends to break all over the internet. It's kind of like that infinity catch-all. It could be Twitter, it could be specific web pages like Politico or the Short Seller Report websites or the New York Post or whatever. There is an infinity place of news where these tend to happen. So you really need to just kind of do your best to catch the ones that tend to be recurring and more common, and to some degree just have the peace of mind to accept that you'll inevitably miss stuff, and that's okay too. One thing I want to stress with this, if this is something you want to get into, you want to always build the habit of asking, where was the original source of this news broken? How could I have been on top of that source, especially if that's the game you want to play? If you don't want to get involved in that sandbox, no big deal whatsoever, but I would still recommend some low-cost ways to just make sure you are informed. There are places like Hammerstone Chats and Trade the News and different Squawk services. Benzinga does one too. No specific recommendation, but any of those still cover your back as far as they won't be the first person out there with news, but they will cover your butt as far as knowing what's moving. Depends really the time frame you wish to operate on. Another big way I would see stock opportunities I think this is actually one that probably everybody sleeps on. I've never met anybody that's ever used this program, but thank God they're actually still in business. And so this would be a technical daily setup scanner. And I use a program called Stock Fetcher. It is ridiculously, laughably affordable. I think off my head, it's something like $150 a year. It is incredibly robust. It is a very, very low learning curve, even though it looks hard at first. And the program is amazing for filtering daily charts based upon any pattern imaginable. This does not use intraday data, so it's not good for any intraday stuff that I'll get to. But if there's any daily chart you're interested in, you can pretty much program this program to filter that for you. I have no affiliation with them, but I've been using them for over 10 years now. It's just stockfetcher.com, $150. It's all web-based, super, super easy. Their user guide you can get through in a couple days, and it all makes sense then. And so I would just create filters for any technical patterns that I found really interesting. This could be low-priced breakouts doing huge volume. This could be breakouts to multi-year highs. This could be strong or really weak consolidations to the 20-day moving average, overextended exhaustion gaps up or down. I would look for really, really tight bull flags, really, really tight bear flags. I would look for trend lines. It was really, really great software. And it would help me spot stocks making the largest multi-day moves up or down and the strongest or weakest stocks setting up in the tightest consolidations. And then I would eventually set price alerts on these, which I'll get to later. But the beauty of this software too is all these charts would just be emailed to me every evening, and then I'd review them to find the best ones. So I might initially get sent, depending on how busy the day was or how much stocks are moving. Maybe my filters would pick up 100 to 200 of these charts, and then I would reduce those down to maybe the best 0 to 10 charts that I'd throw on my watch list. This process would not take me long. Building the filters takes some time, but once they're in existence, man, scanning through those charts would take me 5 minutes each day. Really, really good routine anyways, just to see what's moving and get a feel for the sectors. If this is a topic that's interesting, I'm happy to dive deeper into some of these filters in future videos and some of those patterns. Just let me know. But for now, I'm going to move on. And so this is what a Stock Fetcher screenshot is of just the website. So you can see I had a filter for stocks breaking out above their upper band, stocks below their lower band, stocks that broke out and are holding up really well, consolidations to the moving average, low price, uptrend, downtrend. You could really do infinity of these filters, and it's all super awesome. And then you can see the little charts below. I would not use their charts just because they were a little whatever. I would just use my own software. But I would nevertheless use the list that they would compile for me and get emailed for me to then look through them. Next tool would be the Intraday real-time scanner. So I would use prop software for this that would allow me to filter stocks based on custom variables. And the key here, though, is these scanners will let me do it intraday in real time, updating constantly. Oddly enough, the filters I used were probably the most stupid and simple and non-proprietary. I would just run filters for what stocks are up the most percent, what stocks are down the most percent, and what stocks are doing the most volume versus the ADV. Each morning, I would look through these filters to make sure I knew what stocks were moving and why. I would also check these scanners again at every break I took to fill out my daily report card. So I would tend to just zoom back in and check these at 11 a.m., noon, 2 p.m., just to make sure nothing was moving that I otherwise hadn't previously seen. And any tickers that I found interesting would again be added to that watch list midday. From what I understand on the retail side, Trade Ideas offers software for this. And they're one of the vendors that supposedly puts out a pretty good product. So this software I have not personally used. Again, I have no affiliation. It's just the most common response from retail traders when this question comes up. I'm also aware of many retail traders that have hired programmers to create custom software for them, like I had at a prop firm. The other thing too is there's a lot of trading software that has filters for breaking to new highs, stocks that are breaking to new lows intraday, or other various intraday spike filters. I think even Thinkorswim has a bunch of stuff like this. So it's always worth typing up any stock that's repeatedly appearing on these lists. I always want to know any stock that's moving a ton, what's going on, why, and all these intraday real-time scanners were crucial, especially for capitulations, actually. So the other big thing I'll talk, and this is probably the most obvious but the most underrated, and that's taking really good advantage of price alerts, or what I would do is just 100 share alerts, putting them in everything. And so what do I mean by that? So I imagine that every charting software or trading program allows you to set these alerts, where you would just say, if the stock trades at X price or above it, if it's going up, or below it, if it's a lower price, I want to be alerted. And so even if your software doesn't have this, you can just use 100 share or even a 1 share alert. So this is what I mean by that. I would put a stop limit order in every single price level I was interested in. So let's say that there's some stock with resistance at $7, and I might want to see that at $6.90. What I would do is I would put a stop limit buy, where if this touches $6.90, it would trigger my buy share or my buy order for 1 share, and I would queue it to whatever price made sense. And so that way, anytime a stock got anywhere close to the levels I needed, I would be able to not only get the software price alerts, but I would also get that 100 share position alert. The 100 share positions, those weren't really meaningful to me, right? That's just so I can see it in my position manager and so that I don't lose sight of it. One thing that's going to come up later on is the importance of redundancy. So much of what I do across all these methods, and even the price alerts and the 100 share alerts, it's because redundancy is a very important thing. I never ever want to miss stuff. All these is to make sure that I have every kind of method possible to see the things that I really, really care about seeing. So let me talk about these methods in practice. So MULN was a trade we dissected in that other video. So how does that come up? So first of all, if you have a breaking news filter for stuff like News Edge, you're going to see the breaking news. Another way it can come up is if you have a filter for a stock that's up the most percent or breaking to new highs on your trading software. Or the other thing is if you have a filter for stocks doing the most volume versus their ADV. So, right, ideally you see the news. If not, you see the stock as it's going up and triggering those filters. And so then another form of redundancy again is it came up in my stock fetcher overnight scan for the low priced, high volume breakouts. So again, so much redundancy. That's why it's important. If any of these methods fail me, I would have caught it somewhere for that overnight play. The other thing is take serious. This was up multiple days in a row. So stock fetcher, again, caught that as one of my uptrend and overextended plays before the really big day. Then it made that huge move intraday. So my price filters are catching it, my real-time price filters. So again, it's on the watch list at that point. So I'm then constantly setting price alerts at interesting daily chart levels. So most people probably took it off their radar after its really big intraday move where it went to $7, but I'm keeping that on my watch list and I'm setting price alerts because I want to see if it breaks prior bar lows of that big day or if it breaks prior bar highs because it might set up for a breakout or a breakdown. And that's exactly what it ended up doing a day or two later. And then the stock just melted. So NKLA, I tweeted about regarding no man's land. And so how might this have been seen that day? Someone asked. So the stock had earnings. So again, right? So very immediately off the bat, that would be on my watch list because that had pre-market earnings. Additionally, the stock was making sharp moves off the open, so I'd be seeing that on my price spike filters or my breaking new low filters. Then I would have been setting price alerts and had 100 share positions at those lows because I want to see in case it sets up there in the future, right? So when it first spikes down there, I don't know if that is eventually going to set up nicely or not, but I'm setting those alerts there anyways, right? I'd rather have more noise than miss a good play. So I hope the theme of this is really about redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. I'm using these 5 methods often in an overlapping manner to really make sure that I catch every single thing that I want to see. The other thing I would touch on is the good old Kaizen, constant improvement. Realistically, there are only 5 to 20 super in play stocks each day, and 20 is on the really, really high end. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any of them, and ideally make sure that I have multiple methods that point to them to lower the percent chance that I ever miss similar setups. If a ticker is ever not on my radar and it provides an opportunity, I want to figure out why my methods missed it and reverse engineer a solution to make sure that in the future I could have caught it. My standard was that it was never acceptable to miss an easy money trade. Your standard should be the same, and you should be applying these methods or others to make sure you don't miss any of this stuff. So guys, feedback helps. Any questions on this, any comments? You guys are supporting me. I'm happy to support you. So let me know what is going to make this a huge win for you all. Let me know what's useful, what type of content you want to see, any topic or subject you want me to dive deeper on. I want to make this an amazing experience for you all because I appreciate the support. Usual disclaimers, thank you so much. Trade safe out there and appreciate it again.